Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 24 of the Camera Shake podcast, the podcast where we're talking about anything and everything that's got anything to do with photography, videography, making photos, making videos, and so on and so forth. We'll also be talking about some gear-related questions today, I think, because there's some news, some Nikon news. Nikon
Finally.
news!
Isn't there all? Well, it's better than Canon news at the minute, isn't it?
Well, we've been talking a lot about Canon.
Yes, let's talk about Nikon.
We've been complaining a lot about the fact that there hasn't been any Nikon news.
And finally they announced, what was it, yesterday, day before maybe?
Yeah.
Last couple of days anyway. The Z5, Z6.
Oh, the Z6 and the Z7.
Sorry,
too.
Z6, Z7, jeez.
Oh, no, yeah, who can keep up with that?
They're finally, version 2s are coming out.
Yeah, version 2. So it's not like a brand new camera body that they're introducing. It's essentially an incremental upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, though, when we're saying incremental upgrade, it's quite a major upgrade to the physical part of the body. Not that it's not really going to change in size or shape or anything, but they are adding a second memory card slot, and they'll now be it will now have the capability of taking a camera grip, like a battery grip.
Yeah.
Which will allow you to shoot, in portrait mode and reach all the buttons and everything. I mean, they've basically addressed some of the major complaints that came out when they first launched the Z6 and the Z7. So that in itself is pretty good, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've done it quite quickly, really.
Well, I mean, people have been shouting very loudly,
true.
True. The only thing I think that's a bit of a letdown, and that's probably the reason why they haven't really branded it as a new model or something, is the fact that the Z6, for example, they're saying it's the last camera that will have a 24 megapixel processor in it. Or sensor, even not processor.
So they are sticking with the same sensor in it, are they? Because I thought I read that they might have moved away from that sensor already.
Yes.
There's a Sony sensor in there.
Yeah, correct. And they are moving away from that with the next major
update.
So there'd be no change as far as the sensor or the processor is concerned. This camera. So it's essentially the same camera. They've just added another SD or another card slot. And I'm guessing it's an SD card slot. So... Yeah. That in itself, I always find it a little bit annoying because why have two different formats? It's sort of it's kind of annoying because now you have to deal with. I mean, it's a bit like having a VHS VCR that also runs Betamax tapes. Why would you have that?
Well, I remember you used to be able to get a combo TV, which was probably only 15 inches. With a DVD player and VHS player.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my
God. They were a thing here. You used to go down to Rumbelows and rent it. Back when renting TVs was a thing.
Did you rent DVDs and then tape them and record them onto a VHS?
I wouldn't like to confirm.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow,
Didn't everyone?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember when this really kind of dates me in terms of age, but I remember when first of all, I remember when DVDs first came out, weirdly.
Yep.
But I also remember when recordable DVDs came out for the first time. That was quite an event.
Yeah. Yeah, it was exciting times, that was.
Yeah.
The number of DVDs that I wasted because the burn failed or whatever, it was just
yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah, not good.
I mean, I remember manufacturing lots of DVDs and whatever to send to record companies. And so it was insane.
There's something, it's still a good idea to have DVDRs knocking about. Do you know what? I've got a Apple, they call it a super drive. It's a DVD burner, basically.
Yeah.
That I got with my iMac that I got in 2012.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because it didn't come with a CD drive inbuilt. It was the first one that didn't. And my MacBook that I had then as well also didn't have one. And obviously they've never had one since. But this super drive no longer works on my current MacBook.
Oh, really?
Which is a 2019 MacBook. Disgusting. Not that I ever need it, but I did need it to burn off some DVDs for a production. And it wouldn't work.
No.
So I had to buy new software. I had to dig out my old 2012 MacBook. Thankfully, I still got it and run it off that, and it worked.
Well, I now have. I mean, since the demise of my 2012 MacBook Pro, I now officially don't have any device that will play DVDs in the house anymore.
Wow.
So yeah, the days of the DVD are over.
I think I've got a PlayStation. That's about it.
I don't even know that. We have a Wii. Back from, I don't know.
Which means you definitely have kids.
Yeah, it's, we actually, we're just not into, well, we're not really into playing computer games like that. The kids are, but they play it on their like laptops and computers and whatever. So, or on iPads or whatnot. So, I've got a couple of games on my iMac, which are Kara's games, so she plays them once in a while, but that's about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel for you.
Yeah, I mean, I had this discussion with my stepson the other day because he was like, "Oh, you're gonna play the PS5 when it comes? Are you gonna buy the PS5 when it comes out?" And I'm like, I'm tempted. This looks really good. Like, no doubt about that.
What he actually meant was, are you going to buy me the PS5 when it comes out?
Well, pretty much. But the thing is, I had to decline the request because I know exactly. I mean, this looks so good that I can see myself becoming seriously addicted to that, and then there'll just simply be no time for anything else. So.
I've considered it. You can pre-order it already. I think it's out in November, I believe.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I've got other things I want to buy at the moment, and I can't justify what 400 quid or whatever it is, 500 quid to get a new PlayStation.
I can see myself playing Battlefront on that. Any Star Wars related game, no doubt about that.
See, I don't buy any other games. I play one game on there, and I play it online with 3 or 4 friends. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's maybe once a week.
Yeah.
For a couple of hours. I can't justify it at the moment.
Yeah, I think I would say that if I did buy a PS5, that would probably be the marriage killer.
Yeah. Aside from the fact it is ugly.
Oh yeah.
It is an awful looking piece of kit. Even Xbox have done better. How did we get on to PlayStation?
I don't know. They don't even play the damn thing.
We're talking about the Z6.
Right. That's right. So yeah, I mean, the Z6, it's, I don't know what I think about it. I mean, I think it's definitely a good move to, address concerns. And obviously, I mean, I realize you're not going to have to act. They really had to come up with something because, the train is leaving the station for them. As it goes,
I think there is that, and I think it's a good update while they're working on whatever it is. Hopefully, they're working on whatever it is to come out there to match what Canon are doing at the minute and what Sony are about to do.
Yeah, they're going to have to come up with some, like awesome sensors. I think that's really the main thing for them. That Sony sensor. I mean, it's, there's nothing wrong with it really, but it is a 24 megapixel sensor, and it's probably time to move on from that. If you look at what the competition are doing, in terms of
exactly
high resolution sensors, then it's probably time for them to move on. And I haven't really heard any rumors or anything so far about where they're going with this. That's the thing. So it'll be interesting to watch, though. I mean, let's see. It's one of these announcements that's really almost like no news. Do you know what I mean?
It is. I think we've known it's coming for a while. We've known half the specs, I think, for a while.
The last couple of months.
Are there any other updates to it that happen? I'm pretty sure I read the slightly higher frame rate for frames per second for shooting, and that's
it's like I said, they're incremental updates. There'll be improvements to the autofocus and this and that and the other. It's coming out in 8 days from today as we're shooting this, so it'll probably like 5 days from when you're watching this or listening to this. So it'd be interesting to watch.
Guessing half those updates are firmware updates anyway, and they'll probably apply to the current 6 and 7 anyway. Yeah,
it's one of these things. I always say this. There really isn't a bad camera out there, and it'll be a super awesome camera to get into, especially if it retails at the same sort of price as the original Z6. Then it's a definite for the money, it'll be an awesome
It will.
piece of kit.
I don't think they've got an argument to raise the price on it. Really,
I'm not sure whether it would be a smart move to raise the price on it.
I think it would. We'll see. We will see.
But I am signed up to get a reminder at 5 a.m.
It's the
Whenever it comes up.
It's the 14th of October, isn't it? I think. Is that like full on announcement day, or is that going to be release date?
I think that's release day.
Okay.
Yeah. So the announcement takes place at 5 a.m. British Standard Time. So yeah.
Cool.
So I'll get up for that. That's fine. See where happens.
You'll be up anyway.
Yeah, I'll be up anyway. Exactly.
You'll be up anyway.
It'll just be early morning entertainment.
Yeah. Nice.
So yeah, I mean that's exciting. I feel like it's the first time we've announced anything Nikon related on this podcast.
Yeah, it's probably going to be the last thing as well for a while.
Yeah, true. So yeah. The other thing we have to announce, of course, is we have to give a shout out to one of our listeners.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So Adam Richardson, if you're listening or if you're watching, awesome. We've been trying to figure out who's listening to us from Maryville, Tennessee, right, for a while. And this may or may not be Adam, but Adam got in touch with us and said, hey, I'm listening to you from North Carolina, which is just next door.
Yeah.
Really. So I have no idea how accurate this map is. So just as an explanation, in the background, in the analytics of the audio version of this podcast, there's a little map and we can kind of see where people are listening to us from. It's not particularly accurate, and it will basically pinpoint a general area, something like Minneapolis.
The US.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit more accurate than that. But and it seems as though we have a couple of listeners, or one listener, in Minneapolis as well. So if that's you, please get in touch. Send us an email on camerashakepodcast@gmail.com, or just hit us up on Facebook. It's facebook.com/camerashakepodcast. Send us a message on that. It'd be super awesome to get in touch with people and to see where you actually are when you're listening to the show. Likewise, we seem to be having listeners in Rockby, North Dakota. If that's you, again, get in touch. Send us a Facebook message. Or send us an email or something like that. And we have somebody in Marengo, Illinois. Wow. If that's anywhere close to where you are, I'd say like within a 500-mile radius, then this may very well be you, maybe. But again, just get in touch. Let us know. Let us know that you're enjoying the show. We hope you are, because otherwise, why would you be listening?
And let us know if that's how you pronounce Marengo.
Exactly. So yeah, Adam, again, big shout out. Thanks for listening. Thanks for getting in touch. And, we hope you enjoy the show. And we hope you shoot Nikon. So yeah, so that's our little listener shout out.
Yeah, cool. Absolutely.
Yeah. So other than that, what else has been happening this weekend?
To me personally, zero. And the reason for that is I've had the man flu all week, like you did, for a few days, but it affected me really badly. Oh, it's not COVID, to be clear, but I've been really, really ill all week. I've literally laid down for like 6 days straight. Awful, felt terrible. Yeah. So not a lot for me. Are you feeling better?
Yeah, I feel all right actually. Yeah, I think we got close to having to do another kind of Zoom podcast.
Yeah,
which
I don't know if you can hear, but I'm still not right.
Yeah. So a couple of episodes ago, when I had the man flu, I listened back to that episode, and I actually quite enjoyed listening for the first time. I quite enjoyed listening to my own voice because it sounded kind of nasal and somehow more manly. I don't know what that was.
So you're going to take up a new job doing voiceovers for film trailers?
Absolutely, no problem.
God, if they sounded like that, I would not go and see that film.
Oh, well, you say go and see that film. Of course, now that a whole cinema chain has shut down in the UK, there might not be an opportunity to see it.
That's film. Right. Yeah, that's a sad day.
Yeah, Cineworld shut down. What the hell?
Yeah, that's mad.
Crazy.
I don't really know what to make of it. That's bad news.
Yeah, that seriously sucks. And of course, I'm thinking, well, maybe I'm sort of guilty, in part because I really haven't been to the cinema since the whole pandemic outbreak type of thing. So, you know, I can see why it had to come to this, but nevertheless, under normal circumstances, I'm quite an avid cinema goer because I love movies. And I'm lucky enough to be married to a woman who is obsessed with sci-fi movies too. So, we hit the cinema quite regularly. And my kids love the cinemas, so it'll be really frustrating if, and Cineworld it's a nationwide chain, not only a nationwide chain, it's an international chain. And they really run massive, multiplex cinema complexes, and they're everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're really hard to beat.
They blamed James Bond, didn't they?
Yeah. And I can see that to a point. So I think the point that they were making was that obviously studios have stopped releasing or postponing or have been postponing movies. And originally everything was delayed until the fall, like November, October, November time. And so I think the hope was that they could hang on until then. There'd be some major blockbusters, including the latest James Bond movie would come out, and that would draw people back into the cinema. And now that the producers of James Bond have announced that they're now going to be pushing that back till, I believe, April 21.
That's an entire year's delay.
Yeah, an entire year's delay. It was originally supposed to come out in April 2020. Then it was pushed back to October, and now it's been pushed back to April 21. So I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back, essentially. A major blockbuster that's now not going to happen for another 6 months. And there isn't really anything else that's coming out. Everything else has been pushed back as well.
Yeah.
Avatar 2 and 3, we're probably never going to see that, actually, because they've been talking about this for the last 12 years or whatnot. And I don't really know whether I want to see that now.
No.
I'm like over the whole Smurf thing.
No, I didn't particularly enjoy the first one all that much. It was all right when it came out, and it was novelty because I think, was it the first film in 3D?
It was certainly the first movie that I went to see in 3D.
Yeah.
And I was somewhat disappointed with it. I've since then seen better 3D movies, but I found it very disappointing originally. I mean, not only the fact that you've got to watch it with glasses on, which I don't naturally or normally wear glasses, so the whole thing is that's kind of annoying. But there's also that the 3D-ness of it wasn't really that convincing to me. To me, it always felt like it was almost like having 3 panes of glass, and you've got something happening on the foreground, and then something happening in the midground, which seemed very flat, and something happening in the background, and again, that was very flat. And it wasn't really 3-dimensional. That's how it came across to me. It was more like you have 3 panes of glass, and there's something happening on this plane, and something happening on this plane, and something happening on that plane. And then that was supposed to kind of create the illusion of it being 3-dimensional, and it really didn't do it for me.
No.
When it's another sci-fi blockbuster, and I'm into sci-fi movies, so in principle, there's nothing, it's a good flick, if you know what I mean. It's a bunch of oversized Smurfs, ravaging through the jungle. It's all cool. I can do that for a couple of hours. It's got spaceships in it. Things blow up. Who am I not to see that?
Oh, this is true.
It's all good. So from an entertainment value perspective, it was good. It was just that there was at the time there was a lot of hype about it being 3D and stuff, and I came out being pretty disappointed. I don't know what I was expecting either. I mean, that's
Yeah.
So it was maybe I was expecting sort of a Star Trek holodeck experience, and it didn't quite live up to that.
That when that happens, I'll go back to.
Yeah, well, that's it, right? I haven't really been waiting for another installment of Avatar.
No, I don't think anybody has.
So, well, I guess there's probably some hardcore fans. I'm guessing.
I'm not sure it's going to hit with the younger generation either now.
I don't know. I mean, it just depends on how they, what they're doing with it. It's, it might be another, I don't know. It might turn into a teenage flick. Who knows?
Put it this way: I saw it once. I've never watched it again.
Right.
That to me says, it's just from my perspective, obviously, that it really didn't hit the mark. It was no good.
Well, I mean, I saw it in the cinema in 3D. I've seen it on at home on TV in 2D because the kids like watching it actually. So it's my kids like it more than I do. And I have to say, I'm not missing anything. There are certain 3D movies or 3D versions of movies where I can, I think watching the 3D version is an experience in itself. And controversially, I would say the latest Star Wars trilogy is actually one of those, because we have a family tradition whereby we, my wife and I, we're sci-fi fans, and we're Star Trek. Oh my God, Star Wars nuts, right? We also like Star Trek, by the way, especially my wife. She's crazy about that. But the thing about Star Wars is that there's a 3D version, and then there's the standard cinematic release 2D version. And whenever there's a new Star Wars movie that comes out, we always go and watch both. And the reason is really simply that if we don't go and watch it in 3D in a cinema when it first comes out, then really realistically we'll never again have the opportunity to see it in 3D ever, right?
Which way around do you watch it?
There's probably no real sequence to it. I mean, we've been to see the 3D version first and then the 2D version. What we do, our family tradition is, so Star Wars movies traditionally get released around about Christmas time, right? December-ish. And so there's a cinema in West London where it's like one of these like really cool cinemas that's like it's in an old, which used to be a theater, I guess. So it's really ornate, and they've got big leather chairs in there. And the front row consists of 6 double beds, right? And so you can basically hire one of those double beds, and they've got really awesome coffee and like really cool brownies and the whole shebang.
Sorry, do you need to wear skinny jeans and have a long, big, bushy beard to get into?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's I'm working on that. But it's a cool experience. It's definitely a cool experience, and it doesn't break the bank either. So it's the tickets are reasonable. They're really probably no more expensive than like a 4D experience or something, in a multiplex. So we've sort of made it a family tradition that my wife and I would go when a Star Wars movie would come out. We would watch the Star Wars movie in that cinema in a double bed. Awesome.
So weird.
Yeah, it's great. No, it's great. It's wicked. And so and they do they have 3D showings and 2D showings, and so it just fits. But it's a really fun experience. It's just sort of a bit of a a slightly more luxurious cinema experience. And what worries me about the fact that one of the major global chains, as in Cineworld, have shut down, albeit hopefully only temporarily, is that smaller cinemas and independent cinemas and like smaller chains that really cinemas that offer this very different experience, that they really won't be able to survive at all. And that's worrying, because it's movies and going to the movies and going to the cinema, that's been such a major part of my life ever since I was a kid. I loved it. The reason why I'm a photographer, the reason why I started making videos when I was a kid, it's because I was inspired by the movies, by the big screen. That's been such a major driving force in my life, that it's really disappointing to see Cinema World shutting down. It's like, you hear about all sorts of other businesses shutting down, and of course it has an impact, and you think like, oh man, that's really crap. And you drive through town and you look at the high street, and you think like, oh shit, if these if these cafes go, then we're only going to be left with charity shops and this and that and the other, blah blah. But then when it hits the cinema, or something that's so dear to your heart, it's like, oh man, that's really deflating. Like, that's depressing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's just like,
absolutely.
It's just something I thought was really quite sad.
I mean, my hope is that some of these smaller chains, the smaller independent cinemas, will be okay, because I think the people who typically go to those kind of cinemas will have continued to go when it's been allowed to happen, right? That's my hope. Who knows if that's accurate or not. But the issue that I'm going to see now, or we'll probably see, is that if Cineworld, they stay shut, what's the name of the other major chain in the UK.
Oh, View.
Yeah, that's the other big one, isn't it? That they will ultimately take over Cineworld's premises, start leasing them out, so they've got presence there if they don't already, or they'll be gone. And that's not good for the cinema goer. What's that going to do? It's going to reduce choice, which is never good, and it's going to raise prices, probably.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not good.
When going to the cinema these days is not cheap anyway. Although,
no,
I would say that they've been working hard to add value to, because of course there's been this move away from going to the cinema since the event of Netflix and the huge, massive televisions and all the rest of it. And of course, during the pandemic, there was a thing at some point over the summer where I could see lots of posts like on Facebook and wherever, like friends setting up their like home cinemas at home, with a bed sheet and a projector, and that's really cool. But of course, it does mean, or it has meant over the last 7-10 years or whatever, that there's been sort of a move away from going to the cinema. Just as in comparison, when I was a kid, and my parents were never early adopters to bigger screen sizes when it came to television. They were always quite happy to just watch in the tube, and we always, like, when I was a kid, we never had like large television, so it was like pretty small. And so going to the cinema for me was like, that was a massive experience, And so nowadays it's so easy to just go, I'm just gonna watch some movie on Netflix. Of course, the choice back then was much smaller as well. If you wanted to watch the latest movie, then you had to go to the cinema, because growing up in the south of Germany for a large part of my childhood, we had like 4 channels or something. You know what I mean? Until, again, my parents weren't exactly early adopters of satellite or cable television. You know what I mean? So whilst all my friends were like, happily zapping through like 1,000 channels, it was like, let's go 3, 4.
And what? TV?
Yeah,
no,
TV.
No.
What? I don't know. I have to crank the gramophone. Yeah. But
it's easier for people to get the cinema experience at home these days, and has been for the longest time. And in fact, lots of televisions these days, you get a better picture experience than you would at the cinema, right? Without people's heads going in the way and all that.
5K,
so cinemas, cinemas need to do more than just show a film. Okay. And ideas like the independent cinema that you were talking about earlier, where you go to watch Star Wars, is the right approach. Right, it's the right idea to an approach. Cinemas need to provide a whole experience rather than just showing a film in a seat that, it's comfortable, but I don't want to step on sticky crap on the floor anymore.
For sure,
I'm sick of that.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it needs to become that for people to want to go back to the cinema.
Yeah, there's got to be something in it. So I'm watching with trepidation.
Exactly. And just real quick on the release of films being postponed, I did see that the new Borat film is coming out. But
I don't know.
I saw it on the trailer, and maybe it's an Amazon Studios film now that they took this second film on, but it's being released in the next couple of 3 weeks or whenever. I'm not sure when it is, soon. But it's being released directly to Amazon Prime.
Well,
I would suggest it's an Amazon Studios film, but still, it's not going to cinema.
Well, see, and that's also not the first time that's happened in this pandemic, because the latest Tom Hanks blockbuster had been, and I can't remember what it was called. It was like a war movie type of a thing.
Greyhound? No.
Greyhound, yeah, that's right.
Greyhound, yeah.
Actually, a decent movie. If you like that kind of movie, Tom Hanks' performance was really good in it. And it was, again.
Is there anything he's not good in?
I don't know. It just kind of depends on whether you like Tom Hanks or not.
Oh, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sort of, I'm okay with Tom Hanks. But the thing is, like, again, this was one of these movies that was obviously aimed at a cinematic release, and it was pulled from that, and it was the rights to it were bought by Apple, I believe, and it was released on Apple TV or Apple Plus, TV Plus, or whatever it's called. Yeah. And it was from Apple's perspective, of course, it was a clever move, because you now have a blockbuster that draws people to your channel, as it were. But again, cinemas then lost out on yet another blockbuster. And so, that's obviously been going on. I can also see it from the studio's perspective. Of course, creating these movies cost a whole ton of money, hundreds of millions of dollars or pounds. And of course, there's got to be a realistic chance of making that money back, and sometimes the marketing budget for a movie like that is even higher than the actual original production costs. So it needs to come out with a decent profit in order to enable studios to pour more money into future releases.
Yeah,
and it's there's been occasions where just the failure of one movie would take a whole studio down that's been around for like 100 years.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
And so that's the sort of impact that I can have, and the kind of the sums of money that we're talking about that go into movie production. So I can see how as a studio we're sitting and go like, well, there's no realistic chance of making any of the money back if we release it now, because nobody's going to the cinema. There'll be no tickets sold. No money to be made. I can see it from both sides. But then of course, if cinemas don't have a stream of movies that are being released for cinematic release by the studios, then they don't really have any product to sell. So it's a bit like trying to keep a shop open but not having anything to actually sell. I can really see it from both sides. As a consumer, I guess, as a cinema goer and cinema lover, if you want, I'm really disappointed that this happened. But I can see it from a business perspective, and I can also see it from a studio perspective as to why you would hang on to. They're probably already losing enough money as it is by not releasing it, that they're kind of thinking, well, we're going to have to just,
I wonder if they'll still have a cinema release at some point in the future for those who don't have Apple. And the thing is, God knows how much it costs to make that movie. I doubt they got that back in rights costs from Apple.
No, probably not. Maybe it was just damage limitation or whatever.
That's how I'm seeing it. I think, and they probably didn't put anything into marketing in the end for it. I'm guessing they're relying on Apple to do that because it will be selling on their streaming service.
I mean, I know Tom Hanks. I saw an interview with Tom Hanks, and he wasn't particularly thrilled about how that played out in the end. And I can understand that, because actually, you want people to have the experience, at least initially, of watching a movie on a big screen like that, because it is different.
It is.
It's totally different. I used to, when I was a kid, I used to sit in the front row in the cinema. That was like my way of total immersion. You sit in the front row, you look up, like you're totally immersed in the thing. You've got to turn your head to take in the whole screen, which basically kind of feels like you're in the scene in a way, in a weird 3D sort of way. And it was just total immersion. I used to do it all the time.
Go have a friend. Let me know if anything interesting happens over there.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't know. Very disappointing.
Right. So how did we get onto that?
I don't know. Oh, it was just one of the stories that.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, I thought we were still talking about the Nikon.
Yeah. Yeah. Hang on. Hello. Hi. You all right? No, we're in the middle of filming at the moment.
Can you?
You're on camera right now.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Well, there you go.
That's going in. Speaking of, because we're on the topic of films. Oh, obviously you're a sci-fi nut as well. New series of Discovery on Netflix coming up in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
There you go.
That should be good.
That's all we're going to say on that. Leave it there. So because we're talking about films, Adobe are integrating they're calling it color grading.
Okay.
Into Lightroom.
Oh, yes, I heard about
So
that.
in Lightroom, we normally have split toning, which allows you to tint the shadows and highlights and whatnot, right? But they're introducing what they're called another section called color grading. I don't know whether it's going to completely replace split toning or just be in addition to. But they're taking it from Premiere Pro, which is what's connecting into film. So in Premiere Pro, you can tint shadows and highlights using a color wheel. And that's great. Split toning in Lightroom is done on sliders, right? And you got a couple of sliders for hue. You've got a slider for hue, slider for saturation there as well, right? But they're introducing shadows and highlights color wheels there instead, but also midtones.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah,
which is really, really all. Why it's taken them so long to do that, I don't know. It's a no-brainer. It makes things a lot simpler.
Yeah, it simplifies the workflow there, because previously you'd have to essentially color grade the midtones using RGB curves, and then this would be my workflow. Typically, you would color grade to an extent using RGB curves. Then you would potentially go in and tone the shadows and the highlights separately. But really, I mean, once you're at it in RGB curves, then you might as well do everything.
Exactly.
So,
totally.
So the amount of times that I would actually use the split toning function, I would use it like if I would just tone something on the quick.
Yeah.
It would totally work for that. Or just to give it like a finishing touch. That would happen like typically if I just sort of do a general color grade, or if I just realize, okay, I'll just need like maybe I'm going to push a little bit of blue into the shadows or whatever. I'll do it now, but it's not really. It's one of the lesser used functions in the stuff that I normally do.
But at least now you're going to have a whole color wheel for all three areas to quickly go in, rather than having to go right. If I push a little more green, what's that actually going to do to the color?
And RGB curves are not the easiest to use. They're a bit annoying in the way that they work, because you get to flick back and forth between the blue, red, and the green curve, whatever. So it's like it's a little bit cumbersome. It's a cumbersome way of working. So and I enjoy color wheels in Final Cut Pro, because Final Cut introduced them over a year ago. And that's definitely made the color grading process a lot easier there as well, because it was similar previously, where you had this. It was just a very limited way of color grading beforehand. And so it's a really welcome addition, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be in Lightroom. It's going to be in their RAW camera app as well. Not that I never use that.
Yeah.
So it'll be nice. I don't know when it's coming. I think it's going to be an update later this year.
Yeah.
But it looks like it's almost ready. Maybe they'll release it at the same time as replace the Sky.
Yeah, Sky replacement. I would bet that both of these upgrades are probably coming at the same time.
I'm sure.
You would have thought.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes that a really worthwhile upgrade overall.
Yep.
That's definitely got some cute functions in
definitely.
there.
Are you finding? Are you still using the previous main version of Photoshop?
No.
Or have you finally fully moved?
Yeah. So
is it stable now?
Yeah. What I have found is that Photoshop 2020 is actually working a lot better now, and it is a lot more stable. Well, actually, I've had no problems recently with it. So just as a as an update for those of you watching or listening, when Photoshop brought out the 2020 version originally, it was really, really unstable, and so it meant that I spent more time looking at the color wheel, at the spinning color wheel, or the spinning Apple wheel, than actually being able to do anything in Photoshop. So I had to go back to using the 2019 version of Photoshop for quite a long time, and it's really mainly since. Well, maybe I'd say for the last maybe 3 months or something, 2.5 months.
You see, it's interesting because what I found was, and primarily with Premiere Pro, it was similar issues kind of going on there too. But I found it actually has ended up being a lot more stable since I upgraded my OS to Catalina.
Oh, okay. Well,
might be a coincidence. And then might have done updates at the same time. It's corrected a lot of this stuff. But that's kind of the point. I found things to become more stable for me.
Yeah, because I remember upgrading to Catalina on my original MacBook Pro first. And I don't think it made that much of a difference initially. But I can definitely say that on my iMac, I've had no problems with Photoshop 2020.
See, I didn't upgrade to Catalina until about 5 months ago.
No, right, okay.
So wait a really long time to upgrade because I do a lot of audio work as well, and it just ruins until I wait for like 20 different software manufacturers to go, yeah, we're good, we're compatible now.
Yeah.
It's only when they all go, so yes, will I upgrade?
Yeah.
Because otherwise it ruins everything that I work on. And so I was really late going to Catalina, and now Big Sur's coming out already.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Well, I mean, it's incredible how much of a difference that can make to your workflow.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember, it's in the middle of the summer when we had to push a lot of video content out, and so therefore there was a big need to design thumbnails, and I was using Photoshop a lot, mainly to design things. That was a major hang up, and that's really why ultimately I decided to go back to 2019 to the 2019 version, because it was just impossible to work. It would just it would just make it completely impossible to get anything done. And it was very, very frustrating. And of course then you switch back to the 2019 version and everything works super smoothly. And you think, well, that's just a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, but like I said earlier, I've had no real issues for some time now. So everything seems to have kind of fallen into place.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm going to hang on to Catalina for a while. I don't think I'm in no hurry to.
I'm not even sure Big Sur's out yet, but it will be in the next few weeks, I guess. But no, I probably want to upgrade that until May.
Do you know if there's any new features coming?
Do you know? I don't know. I don't look anymore.
Yeah,
I do find in general the new features that get added aren't really relevant for me. I don't care enough to use them. It makes no difference to my actual workflow.
But see, sometimes I think like, oh, this is a really cool feature, like the sidecar thing, for example.
I've yet to use it.
Well, I kind of thought,
I thought I would.
Well, when I was using my MacBook Pro and the screen was considerably small, I thought, that's a good idea because you can have like a second screen and perfect. But then of course I realized that actually no, that's not going to work because my iPad's too old.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, cool. So that's not worth me upgrading my iPad.
I have just thought. So when I was trying to use it, I thought it would be really good for, provided I was at my desk, because normally I'd have my MacBook, I'd then connect that go to my monitor, and I'd sit at my desk and use the monitor. The way my desk is set up, because all my audio stuff is there as well, I can't really open the laptop and use it in an easy way. So I thought what I could use is my iPad using Sidecar just to put the monitor of what I'm working on in Premiere Pro into it, and have the rest of the space to edit on. I was doing that when I was having problems still with Premiere Pro, and that was in the first kind of week or two of upgrading to Catalina, where you could do that, and I was still having major issues with it. So I stopped. But now everything's settled down and seems to be working okay. I'm wondering whether that's worth trying again.
Yeah.
That could be interesting. And you've just constantly got it there. Because switching between some of the views in Premiere Pro is a bit of a pain. Yeah. And there's loads of other stuff you can't see that you want to be able to see, even on a big 27-inch monitor.
Yeah. I'm liking the iMac monitor. I like it because the resolution is awesome, but it's also, it just gives me a lot more space. And of course, coming from editing on a laptop screen to a much bigger screen has really, I'm just loving the real estate. So it just allows me to do a lot more things and have a number of things open at the same time, and so it makes life easier. It's definitely been the right move. Because initially, when I realized I had to upgrade my computer, I was umming and ahhing as to whether I should just simply upgrade to a newer MacBook Pro version, or whether I should go and invest into an iMac or a computer station, for the lack of a better word. Because of course it comes with drawbacks and it comes with disadvantages. Like you can't, mobile, you can't take it anywhere. You're basically stuck in the same place, and but I have to say, for me personally, it's been an absolute worthwhile decision. I mean, it's really made a major difference to what I do. And that's not only because, of course, it's a newer computer and everything works smoother and all the rest of it, but it's actually just simply down to the fact that there's a bigger screen. It's better for my eyes. I actually sit with a better posture. It's made a massive difference, and it's just so much more fun to work on, because even the latest MacBook Pro would have still just been a laptop, and it would have still been the same size screen as my old MacBook Pro.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so it wouldn't have made any difference in that respect. Of course, yeah, it would have been faster and smoother and all the rest of it. But nevertheless, the basic working conditions, if you want to call it that, would have been the same.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so so that's So I'm happy to to work on an iMac.
And I know it's expensive, but you feel more creative and like you want to be there doing something, and it really helps.
Totally, and this was like my whole point in like building my workspace at home. And I spend a lot of time thinking about and designing and creating the space that I can work in. I've created a little creative space for myself, with a desk and shelving and lighting. I lit the whole thing in a number of different ways, and can change the lighting and change things around. And it just, to me, just sitting down there and working is a creative experience in itself, and I like it, And it's a thing. It's a space where I like to sit down and I like to work, and I'm not feeling like I'm cramped in a corner somewhere, and I get a backache after like 20 minutes. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's a much more pleasant experience, and it does make you more creative. Absolutely. I've actually do you remember I've been thinking about getting a plant to go onto my desk.
Yep.
Right. And so
chosen one.
Well, I spent the last week actually looking at different plants. I looked at fake plants, I looked at real plants, looked at, I don't know, all sorts of different greenery, right? And I'm not an expert on plants at all. I just needed something that was approximately like this high, and there's so much space for it on my desk, and yada yada and all the rest of it. And now I've bought a lava lamp.
Nice.
Yes.
I have one.
Well, so I didn't buy just one lava lamp. I actually may have bought two. But yeah.
So they're going to go either side, or
no,
both on one side?
Well, no.
Have you bought different sizes?
No, I bought different colors.
Yeah,
because I couldn't make up my mind as to which color.
What color have you gone for?
So I've gone for orange and blue.
Yeah.
Right. So it's orange lava and like blue liquid, whatever. And then the other thing is kind of sort of white and blue. And I couldn't make up my mind as to which one I liked more, or which one would look better on my desk. And also because, of course, we're shooting tutorials in that space. So, I kind of thought, well, I wasn't really sure what was going to look better on camera as well. So I kind of figured I'll just get them both. Because to be honest, I was surprised how inexpensive lava lamps are.
10, 15 quid?
Yeah, it's like,
roughly?
Yeah, 20 quid, let's say. Yeah. So I kind of thought, well, I get a couple of those. It was inspired by my stepson, who bought himself a lava lamp last weekend. And we tried it out. And actually, we put it. He goes like, "Oh, can we put it on your desk? I just want to, let it warm up and see what it looks like." And I'm like, "Yeah, cool, let's do that." And I'm like,
"Done.
Whoa, this looks cool."
Done.
His was green, so it wouldn't fit in with my desk. But I kind of thought, yeah, that's the solution.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've got a red one in my studio, and I think part of the reason, because I'll often only put it on in the evening if I'm working in there, and I'm putting the lights on and whatnot. Yeah. But what I remember, I rarely use it now, and the reason I rarely use it is because I put it on once in the evening. I left something exporting, and so I have a power conditioner in there for all my audio gear, and it's actually connected to an extension lead coming out the back of that. Right. So I turn it all off with one switch. Mm-hmm. So I left it on while something was exporting, but I turned my other lamps on in the room off because they're just connected to the regular outlets. And I went out for a couple of hours. So I went out, didn't really look back or anything. I just carried on. When I came back, I looked up, what's that? And I looked up at the window, even though the blind was kind of half closed. Looked up at the window, and it was just the whole room was red.
Oh, no.
I felt like Roxanne.
Oh, God. Man.
It did not look good from the outside. Did not look good. Very worrying. Very, very worrying.
Yeah.
So speaking of plants, this is one of the first indoor plants that I've managed to keep alive. But you remember when we had the set accident a few weeks ago? Gradually, all the other leaves that got damaged by that and squashed, they've all died. It's all gone off. So I'm left with one stem, which is just about surviving. It looks like it's doing okay. I've had to prop it up with a stick. See this one here? That's going. That's dead.
Oh, no. Okay.
That's dead. That'll be gone shortly. So I'll be left with 3 or 4 leaves coming out. Might be time for a new one.
Well, it survived for a few weeks then.
Yeah, did all right.
Hmm.
Did all right. But yeah, oh well. Never mind.
I think my daughter named it Steven the other day.
Stephen.
Yeah.
Stephen.
Stephen.
Oh, I wonder how Jeffrey's doing.
Jeffrey's all right. Yeah, Jeffrey's all right. He's growing bigger and stronger.
Oh, wait, it's not Jeffrey. Which one is the one at work?
Frankie boy.
Frankie.
That's right. We do name our plants. It's weird.
Because he was almost dying.
Was
In
he?
fact, he's probably gone now.
Yeah, we should have a look at that.
Mm.
Oh.
I'll be there on Wednesday. I'll check.
Yeah. So what else? Oh, I tell you what. Trains. So that's a super hilarious story that I came about a day or so ago. So for all the Harry Potter fans out there, apparently the Hogwarts, the Hogwarts Express, the train from the Harry Potter franchise, was on its way up to the north of Scotland or something, and so it was passing through some stations in Scotland, and of course that drew large numbers of spectators, who wanted to take a picture of the train as it was passing by the platform.
Sure.
And so at this one station, this mass of people congregated, with their phones ready and cameras ready to take a picture. And just at the very moment, as the Hogwarts Express was, going through the station, some commuter train comes in and blocks the view for everyone.
Brilliant.
So I thought that was hilarious. And then somebody was filming the whole thing on their phone. I saw it and it was like, okay, well, that was worth coming out for.
That's
that.
amazing. Probably the one time the train's been on time as well.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man.
That's lame.
So, yeah, for all those Harry Potter fans up in Scotland, I'm very sorry for your loss.
Oh, dear. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
The other thing that I thought was actually worth mentioning was that Atomos have announced the release of a USB to HDMI card or adapter, whatever you want to call it. Which
who's to hood me?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So that will basically allow you to connect your DSLR or mirrorless camera to your computer and use that as like a webcam, for example, or recording device. So you should be able to use any camera that has a USB output.
Okay.
Or sorry, an HDMI output, and connect that to your PC or Mac or whatever via the USB port, which sounds awesome. And of course, my first thought was like, yeah, but everybody's been announcing that recently. Like Sony and Fuji and whatever,
all the major brands,
Nikon, all the major brands have. But then, of course, if you think about it, that's all well and good because that works really well with the latest models. But if if you still have a camera that's maybe a little bit older, or 4 or 5 years old, like a D750, for example, like a Nikon D750 or something like that, then you won't be able to use that with the new upgrades. But with this Atomos connector, you will.
Okay.
And that's really
cool.
not a bad thing. And also, to make matters even better, it's not really going to break the bank either. It's only going to be like $80 or something. So
okay, that's not bad. Don't get me wrong, this stuff's great. It's very, very good.
Yeah.
It's high quality, but it is expensive.
Yeah, so it's so they've come up with something that's relatively inexpensive, and it might solve a number of problems, and might give people the opportunity to upgrade the quality of their computer video by using the actual camera. So I'm thinking that could be cool. I could connect, I don't know, the Fuji X100F or something, and use that as a webcam potentially.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, that's definitely
that.
worth mentioning. It's available for pre-order at the moment, so I don't know. I'm guessing they'll release it soon. So that was something I think was worth talking about.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I like that. It makes me think. Well, why was it restricted from like Nikon's release? What their update? Why prevent older models if
I don't know.
Atomos have been able to do it?
Yeah, I'm not. I really don't know. That was never really mentioned before. It was just simply they would release an update and then it would give you a list of models that it would work with. Maybe I don't know. Who knows? You know, it's like I said, and we talked about this, a number of episodes ago, and I still maintain, my attitude is still the same. It's like, why hasn't this happened 5 years ago or whatever? I mean, this is like such a, in a way, this is such a lame update, because this is really something that you should be totally expecting of your 2,000 pound camera. Do you know what I mean? I mean, this is just such a ridiculous thing, to not be able to do with a camera you spend that much money on. That in itself boggles the mind. So, but now you'll be able to do it for 80 quid.
Did you just say boggle?
Yeah.
Great word. Like it.
I know.
Boggle.
Boggle the mind.
Reminds me of Demolition Man.
Really?
What seems to be your boggle?
Right. So there's one final thing.
Shoot.
That I thought, that caught my eye this week. And that's the fact that Olympus have concluded the sale of their imaging division to JIP, which, well, who knows what that is, but
Jip.
Jip, yeah. Jip or Jif? They sold it to a peanut butter company.
Hey.
So they've obviously announced the sale of the imaging division some time ago, but now some of the details have been released, and apparently the whole sales process has now been concluded. So it's all going ahead and it's all happening. Now there's a number of things I think for Olympus shooters to pay attention to, really. One is that in the official statement, they don't really mention anything about cameras or lenses. So this may initially be a little bit worrying if you're an Olympus shooter, because you kind of think, well, so what's going to happen with, first of all, the sort of future or ongoing support of the kit that I already have, my camera body and lenses and everything. And also, what's the future for Olympus as a camera brand? Because it's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And so I would be worried, right? So what Olympus announced was that they would be concentrating on their medical and scientific solutions. So again, if you're thinking, well, what's happening with my consumer camera thing,
Of course.
But it was the Olympus CEO and president who then came out with a statement, and he sort of just simply alluded to the fact that they will be looking after their customers, and he sort of alluded to there being a future for camera and and lens users and photographers as such. So I think we're just gonna have to wait and see what's actually happening.
That could mean a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, that's a glimmer of hope, I think. That's what you could say.
Sounds like they'll just continue to provide support for the next few years or whatever.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, see, if I was invested into Olympus as a system, I would probably move on now.
Yeah.
To be safe, to be honest. Unless it's a hobby and I don't really, need to kind of look at future bodies or whatever else. But I think otherwise I would probably jump ship right now.
I mean, there's going to be a few people that'll just hang on to it and use it as like old gear, if you like. But I'd like to think that Olympus will offer a favorable trade-in price for existing Olympus gear that,
I don't know. I mean,
perhaps the newer stuff, stuff that's been released in the last 5 years or what, I don't know, whatever they want.
But they might just be, they might just carry on supporting that stuff until a certain time and then, call it quits. Who knows? I mean, they may be thinking of completely rejigging the whole camera division until, who knows? There's obviously a reason why they've sold the imaging division. So, I think we've all known that things are not well at Olympus for quite some time.
Yeah.
So, who knows? They may have a grand master plan of bringing Olympus back. Who knows?
Could be.
But the competition is stiff. If you look all around you, I mean, the playing field has changed. I mean, really, even if you look at some of the closer competitors to Olympus, like Fuji, for example, they are making waves in the game.
Yeah.
With releases like the XT3 or the XT4, or the GFX series and stuff, cameras and whatever. So, they are really even Fuji is miles ahead of Olympus at this point. We're not even talking about Canon, or even Nikon. It feels like Nikon is becoming like, the evil N word.
Kind of is, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like very disappointing.
Yeah.
But we'll see. So, yeah, it's just been one of these, bits of camera news this week that I thought, I don't know.
Well, I hope we're not sat here in a year's time and saying similar things about Nikon, and that they've fallen so far behind that there's no point in them doing what they're doing anymore.
They're now going to be concentrating on flatbed scanners.
Buy yours secondhand on eBay for
Nikon USB sticks available now.
Yeah.
So,
oh man,
it's a weird world we live in.
It is. It really is right now. But let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Cool. Well, I think that's pretty much it for today's episode 24.
Indeed.
Yeah. Cool. So if you enjoyed this episode, then please subscribe to us on YouTube, or leave us a star rating on Apple Podcasts. That would be super awesome. It really does help the channel, and it will ensure that we can be found by more people. So on the Apple Podcast app, just scroll down to the bottom, leave us a comment. That'd be super awesome. And again, if you live in any of the areas we talked about earlier, then give us a shout, send us an email, or drop us a line on Facebook. And that's really it for today.
They could even do it via the review on Apple Podcasts.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be even better. That's right. So yeah, leave a review. Click subscribe on YouTube, because it does make a major difference to us, and we do want to hit that 100 subscriber limit. So that'd be good. But without further ado, that's it from us today, and we'll see you then next Thursday.
See you later.